Yo, what's going on, everybody? And welcome to another episode of Entre Nos Live. This one's a special one. I know we've done special ones before, but this one right here is going to be good. We've got the creator of the Entre Nos series. He's the reason myself, Orlando Leyba, Jerry Garcia, Gina Brion have half hours because of this dude right here. Let's bring him in. Ed Licona, what's going on, man?
What's going on? What's going on, people?
How you doing, man?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. I'm not as busy as you, apparently, but
Come on now.
you know, I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying to catch up to you.
I feel like with the quarantine, everybody keeps asking, "How you holding up?" I feel like that's just such a bad question to ask. It should be, "How are you adjusting or reinventing yourself during this?"
You know what? That's probably I just had a conversation with someone earlier today, and that should have been.
That should be the question.
My question. Yeah, that should have.
Instead of like you're a victim. How you hold? That's what you ask somebody that's not doing well. And don't get me wrong, it's not ideal to be quarantined, to be in the lockdown. But the question should be: is how are you adapting? How are you readjusting, shifting?
I'm gonna start asking that now.
You got to.
I think you just gave me something to ask. Yeah.
I know this is not a popular thing to say. I'm a big Floyd Mayweather fan. I used to love watching him box because if you watch him the first 2 rounds, he wasn't doing much. He's trying to figure it out. And that's what we should have been doing the first couple of weeks, figuring it out and then adjusting, shifting, and changing up the game plan.
I think behind the scenes, a lot of us, some of us are doing that. You know, obviously, maybe not as vocal or in front of the camera as much, but it's definitely it is a time to adjust, and it is a time to kind of reinvent yourself and just figure out, like, you know, once everybody starts moving again, what are you gonna do? What's that next move? And what's that next step? You know.
Well,
I agree with you.
Well, that being said, what's next for Entre Nos?
Well, we're working on a couple things. I don't know if I could share them yet, but definitely we're trying to expand the brand. We definitely want to dive into, you know, eventually on the non-scripted and scripted side of things, audio side, podcast side, and we have some ideas. But once everything gets a little bit finalized, I'll be able to share. But we're getting there; it's getting close.
I feel like
we're just expanding the brand. That's all. We just want to expand the brand. That's all, and we want to.
Like we were moments away from getting breaking news right there. What happened?
Nah. But we definitely want to. You know, I think at the end of the day, what we want to accomplish is, in a way, is what Lauren Michael has done with his Broadway video. He's been able to grow, not only create a platform for his talent with SNL, but he's been able to grow with them and develop. And he's pretty much running NBC now, like you know, all the late night talk shows and sitcoms and things like that. So I look at that, and I feel like I'm surrounded by so much talent that it just makes sense for us to figure out how to continue and evolve with everybody that, you know, we associate ourselves with.
So you with the level of talent that you dealt with the Entre Nos and the HBO half hours, you see late night, you see scripted, you see unscripted. You're looking at big picture for these people.
Yeah, 100%. Just looking at you. You're looking at you at these IG lives and Facebook and seeing the way when you started this, how fast into this lockdown did you go online? Do you remember? Was it the first week or was it like week 2 or 3? Because it feels like you just went in, and the first week you had like 3 shows.
Yeah.
like looking back, I'm like, damn, did he launch 3 shows all in 1 week? Or was it like an evolution of like, you went in with Brown, I believe you launched with Brownish, right, on a Monday. And then you did Hours on a Wednesday. And then I feel like you went into the double date. And now you have Father's Day. But Father's Day, I can see that evolved in the last 2 weeks. Behind the scenes, you've been talking about it, but now it's live. Now it's a thing.
Well, once I think that first week I started going live more on IG just to interact with people, because I feel like we were all a little shell shocked of like, yo, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then when we got the first, oh, we're gonna be in lockdown for the next couple of weeks, it became all right, I can't do stand-up now. I can either A, just sit at home, woe is me, I can't do stand-up no more and feel bad for myself, or I gotta find another outlet for this itch that I'm gonna get. Yeah. Trust me, my wife, the first day we got the announcement we're gonna be locked down, she goes, are you gonna be good not getting up on stage? Like, she knew. She's like, oh, we have to figure something out here, because are you gonna be all right? And it was one of those things. I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna be okay. I gotta figure out other outlets for this, because if I don't, I'm gonna go crazy.
So for you, it's more about just staying creative and staying
creative. Like, I can't get in front of, because you've done the intro, you've done the half hour, so the immediate feedback for comic. Yeah. Oh, that audience, and then you've seen when a comic gets on a roll, how he's playing with that audience. We can do that. Even and God bless all those people doing those Zoom shows. It's still not the same. It's not the same dance.
Yeah.
So some of us are jumping into that, going, I'm going to do this dance on Zoom, and it's going to be weird. Like I attempted to do something like it, and even when you do well, you still feel weird about it. Like, that didn't feel like stand up. Or you could do what I did, where I'm like, I'm not going to attempt to do stand up, because it's not going to be the same. So instead, I'm going to try to find these other outlets that sort of help me stay creative, help me stay funny, and help me also entertain, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, looking at it from my standpoint, at it, like, it feels like it's a natural evolution to do Zoom shows or even IG live shows, right? It just seems like natural to just do it, but it definitely doesn't have the same feeling.
It's weird, man. Like, they're gonna try to do sports with no audiences. And don't get me wrong, people that miss sports, watching sports, like all right, because we've been me and you've been talking about The Last Dance, right?
Yeah.
You can't tell me that it's not a different game. Not saying that Jordan wouldn't have won those championships, but it's a different game if he doesn't have those fans behind him, giving him that boost of energy, or the other fans help the other teams go, and then it becomes this competition. So now it's a weird. You're still doing the dance, but it's not the same dance.
Yeah, I agree. Or that fuel of somebody booing him, and he used that ammunition to go out there and perform that night. It's gonna be weird.
Last episode, when he hits that last shot, and you just see the whole stadium just
But I don't know if you've seen that shot of that one kid. There's like one kid wearing one kid. He's wearing the Bulls, like in the sea of nothing but Jazz fans. One kid just stands out, right?
Right.
But it's interesting. I mean, again, I everybody's doing their thing, and I don't disagree with it, but it just doesn't feel. It doesn't feel right. That's all. It just doesn't feel right. And trust me, I've thought about, can I go out there and film a comedian without a crowd and just tell him to perform to the cameras and not pay attention to, that there's no audience, just keep going. Like, I've thought about that. And in reality, it's like, I don't know how that's going to look. Like,
I Drew Michael years back.
Right. I did see that. Well, I'm not gonna lie. I think I've seen it a couple times, trying to figure that out. Like, let me see what he did, and let me see if I can duplicate that. And he didn't do traditional like stand-up, so that's why I don't know if I could go down that route. But I've thought about it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've thought about it, but. And much respect to everybody doing it. I think I'd rather see people being creative or finding a way to let out that creativity than just probably being at home and, not doing anything, I guess. We all got to find a way to just keep that feel going.
So we don't go too deep down in this quarantine rabbit hole. So take me through Entre Nos, because I think you and I had this conversation once, because like, anybody involved in comedy has always tried comedy. And I was like, yo, you've been on stage before? And you're like, why?
I think you were the second person that ever asked me that, and I didn't quite understand it.
Because most comedy clubs, those managers had tried to do stand-up, it didn't happen for them. So they're like, I'm gonna open up a club because I love stand-up so much.
And I
Because
think
you didn't traditionally come from stand-up. You came
I came from film distribution side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I was the guy flying out to film festivals and buying and acquiring projects. I was attached to comedy, but on the distribution side, like helping do the deal. Like when I got into acquisitions, the first comedy deal I did was was it Lafapalooza? But no, not Lafapalooza. Latinpalooza.
Mm-hmm.
Latinpalooza with Joy Medina, Willie Barcena. I don't know if Alex Ramuna was on that, but it was like 4 comedians, and then Cat Williams and then Gabriel Iglesias was supposed to be on it, but he ended up getting his own. But anyway, so yeah, I was attached to comedy, but from a distribution and content production standpoint, but not in front of people and, on stage or anything like that. I've always loved it. I grew up watching it. I mean, I was a big fan and still am to this day. So from a content standpoint, I knew that there was a lack of it for Latinos, of an opportunity, and also at a higher premium brand standpoint, like not just putting it out there on the web. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But I definitely wanted to make those two connections. And so what ended up happening was that I got it the first. I'll step back a little bit before Entre Nos, so everybody could get a little bit of. And you could ask questions too, because it's going to get interesting. Like around 2012, I did Outside. I was on my own, and I just figured that I was going to get back into comedy. It was a good way of me to produce things. Nobody wanted to give me a shot at being a producer, even though I came from a acquisition content standpoint. I didn't have the producer credits.
Right.
So I figured that the only way for me to do it was for me to just create my own show.
Right.
Which I did. And I partnered up with Richard Villa, Erik, Blake, and brand new comedian Jesus Trejo at that time. I think it was 2012. And
well, now, by the way, has a Showtime special coming out.
Yes, believe on the 29th, May 29th on Showtime. Which I'm 100% super proud.
That's got to be some kind of validation for you. You may not necessarily be like, everyone, thank you, but like the fact that at that point you saw a dude like that, you're like, there's something there.
100%. Everybody walked away from that show. And when I say everybody, you're gonna feel like it sounds like a lot, but it wasn't, because it was a challenging show to produce. But everybody walked away from that show asking who the first opening act was, in which it was Jesus. And then he was our favorite as well, and just seeing everybody gravitate to him, it just felt good, right? And I knew it was one of those.
Was this Jesus with
the comb over Jesus?
Like, if you don't know Jesus, please go Google him. He used to do this.
Yeah, this is the comb over Jesus.
He used to have a comb over, and he'd be like, "Yo, this is how I hit on come over," and the hair would just flip. Oh, dude.
He had great bits. He had great bits of him working out and everybody seeing the comb over flopping. But it was great. I mean, and it's not just it is validating, but looking at you guys, whether it's you, Orlando, Jesus, people that we work with, one of the things that I dove in here, the reason why I wanted to create this was because I saw the talent. I just didn't see Hollywood knocking on the door and allowing to create more opportunities for you guys, for a broader audience to see you guys, right? So that's what fueled me. So it wasn't that in the beginning. It was more of like, I'm a fan. I'm gonna go and create some comedy shows and put it together. As I started diving into it, from that little small show, I started doing.
Wait, what was that show called?
Refried Comedy.
Refried Comedy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It came out in 2013. We sold it to on Redbox, Apple TV, and if I could share a little behind the scenes on that as well. Like, when producing it, again, I'm producing it on my own small budget, modest budget. I rented out a 500-seater theater in the Valley. It was free. passed out flyers myself all around the high school, everything, just you name it, I just did it all.
Right.
And that 500 seater, and I think on the day of filming, like 30 people showed up, you know, and everybody behind the scenes is asking me, is it filled up? Is like, do we have a great, like, you know, audience? And I just kept saying, yeah, man, just listen up for the laughs. You know, we're good. And I could definitely see every time a comedian hit the stage, I could see that moment of like, oh shit, like it's empty, you know? And trust me, a 500 seater when there's only 30 people filling up maybe the first 2 rows, yo, it looks empty, you know? But anyway, so I was still able to get the shots that I wanted. I remember going home like really disappointed. And then the next day I just got up, look at the footage, and I said, I could still do something here.
Right.
And once it was edited, you know, sold it to Redbox, partnered up with my old mentor who had a distribution deal. At that time, he had his own label, so we released it into Walmart and all of that stuff. And believe it or not, that small little show led to the next show, which was Sigue la Risa with Netflix and AT&T. Just came full circle. So it was weird that small little show transitioned into a better opportunity. Domestically, AT&T was launching an OTT network called Yaveo, and we had sold the international rights for Sigue la Risa to Netflix. So Netflix was going to have international Latin America, and AT&T, Yaveo was going to, DirecTV was going to have the other side. Right. And then that deal we ended up doing all in Spanish, which was an interesting project, only because I knew there was a lot of upside. But being ahead of the market around 2012, 2013, and all Spanish stand-up, it was challenging to say the least, you know. But we executed. They released it. We had a really good time. We had Sophia. You know, now you Google Sophia, and she's that talented. I think she has 2 Netflix 1-hour specials, and she's working on a couple of other things. In addition to Richie O'Farrill and a lot of other talented comedians that have like hour specials on Netflix. So the cool thing that happened out of there, I'll tell you the cool thing that happened out of there, Netflix used that show to help them kind of give out those hour shows, right? Like,
by the way, Sophia Del Nino, we've talked about her in private. I think she's a monster.
Yeah. She's
one of those comedians. I remember seeing her first special on Netflix and going, "Oh, she's dope."
Yeah.
And then seeing 100%. Her sort of evolve from the second to the third. So you got to see her before that, because I remember I told you about her, and you're like, "Oh, I know her, dude. I filmed her." I was like, "Yo, the first special is sort of almost like this timid."
Yeah.
And then finally finding her rhythm and finding her voice, and just seeing her on the last one, she came out and just boom.
So the interesting, yeah. When I was diving into that project, I flew out to Mexico, and I went to a couple. We hired somebody to drive us around, and we went to a couple of comedy clubs. So I got to see a lot of these guys, and so I came back home with so much ammunition, and we interviewed people, we interviewed the comedians, and so by the time we came back, I knew like we were gonna film her, right? And the coolest story about her is that locked her in, like, let's say that it's the day before filming, and she sends me a text saying that she's not gonna fly in, and that she is a little nervous because she hasn't performed in the US, and she doesn't know if she can fill out a theater, right?
Right.
So I get on the phone and like, let me talk to you. Like, look, from a producer standpoint, like, that's not your problem. I just need you to fly over here. I guarantee you the place is going to be packed. Like, trust me. You know, I started running down all the things that we had prepared for her and everything. And I said, look, and I gave her final cut. I was like, look, I'm going to tell you right now, I'll even email you. I was like, just to verify, like, if you don't like the way it came out, Like we're not gonna release it. And I was like, and I'll email you saying you have final approval of it. And then sure enough, so she got that email. She goes, all right, cool. See you tomorrow. And long
By the way,
story short,
that's something I tell anybody you work with, because a lot of people
I know.
people hit me up like, I am part of your company, and they're like, yo, what's Edwin like? And I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, like, he does have every comedian's best interest at heart. Where if we go, oh, I don't want this, or can you help me with that? You legit are there for. You're not just churning out, because we've dealt with production companies where they're just churning out content so they don't care. Like, I just need the mass. And you're not about the quantity. You're more about the quality. Like, all right, how do we make this what you want it to be?
Exactly. I feel like if you guys have a vision for your brand, I just want to get out of the way and just help you execute that vision, right? So with her, she just had a little bit of like, she knew she was gonna kill it. It was just her first time in LA,
right?
So, and then to a crowd as well, and then filming her. So it's like to add like, hey, I'm gonna film you. So she didn't know like if all the dots were there, right? Maybe she, she was killing it in Mexico though.
Yeah.
So I was like, look, you're killing it in Mexico. Let me expose you to the U.S. crowd. So anyway, long story short, she killed it. Everybody loved her. I remember driving her back to her hotel. She's like, man, whatever you guys want, like, I'm in. And maybe like 4 months after that, we let Netflix see the dailies, the show. 4 months after that, she had a deal on the table for the first hour show, which was amazing. Like, like it is validating to see all of that happening. But at the end of the day, like, I wanted to produce it. It just, it just couldn't happen because she did it in Mexico, and she did it for a significantly smaller budget that we wouldn't be able to execute it here. But
so then Sigue la Risa. How many more steps before we get to Entre Nos?
That's it. The next step is Entre Nos. It's from Sigue la Risa. It led to Entre Nos. The funny story is that we met the HBO executives at Nappy. I don't know if you're familiar with Nappy. Nappy is this like a broadcast market with everybody from around the world, from broadcasters there. Victor and I were there selling Sigue la Risa internationally, because now Netflix had the domestic rights. And then we met with HBO, the team over there, Doris and Leslie. Went to a couple of parties over there and introduced the series to everybody else. And then
I don't mean to jump in, but like, when you think of, as a child, like what you want to be when you grow up, and then you got these parties and stuff, and you're like, this is work. Like that. Like I still get like that. Like, people always like think I'm just like, oh, he's so cool. But like, sometimes I'm at these events and I'm like, wow, this is my life. Like, little me would not.
Listen,
like, I was party and it's work, like
100%. I'm not lying. Yeah, it was Byron Allen's little pool party, and I'm like, I don't know if you guys know who Byron Allen is, but if you don't, Google him. I was like, you know what? I wouldn't mind meeting Byron Allen. So we go to the pool party, man. That dude had a line of people just wanting to talk to him, and I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna be here for a good 10-15 minutes there, because I'm not gonna get my chance to talk to him. But yeah, you're right. It's all networking, especially during those whole film markets and broadcast.
HBO saw Sigue la Risa and they wanted in.
So we showed them the thing, and we were like, hey, how come we don't do something with you guys? We can't just let it over here. Like, let's go out there and create something. And the reality is, it took maybe about 8 months, man, of continuously knocking on that door, like, hey, we still want to create something with you. We kept showing them little data of all the other things that we were doing. And finally, we met with them here at AFM, which is the American film market. I think that's in October in Santa Monica. Met with them. They pretty much gave us the green light. And to our surprise, they said, hey, why don't we just do 2 pilots? You're going to do one in English and one in Spanish, and then we're going to figure out what to do with that afterwards, right? And there's that cool little trailer. But by the way, like, I don't know if I've ever told you, like, the coolest thing about you is that through that whole process, I know that you were there with Vlad.
I was there, yeah.
I still remember you as always the dude that was around, and you were around and you saw all of us, but it's like you played your part. Like you didn't go out there and overly like introduce yourself to everybody that was there. Even though you knew you were there to support, your friend. I would make eye contact with you, and I was like, I know this dude came with Vlad. I saw you with the lanyard thing, but I was like, if he doesn't come up to me, I'm not gonna go bother him. I was like, he's gotta be somebody. If Vlad's hanging out and like he's backstage and all that, I was like, and the crazy thing is when I look at all the backstage footage, I always see you. I always see you walking around. Either in the front where everybody was taking pictures, like somehow, some way, like myself and Andrew are always walking around you, and we always bump into you, but we didn't get to officially meet. You hopped on with us at Entre Nos, but yeah, so we did the 2 pilots, and we got the deal like on, I want to say like in December. And we needed to deliver in March. So I basically had to pre-produce, shoot 2 pilots within a month and a half time span.
Yeah, that night you did the both of them. You did the English and you did the Spanish.
Yeah, and it was chaotic.
I didn't approach you because you understand what this is like when you're doing a show. The last thing you have 100 things going on in your head.
Yeah.
Oh, lighting, how's the cameras? Because you let me direct. You let me shout out the director on the last batch you did, and all the things coming at you. Oh, Edwin, we don't got this camera angle. Oh, the monitors they're not working. The audience.
Yeah.
Come. So the last thing you need is like, hey, I'm a comedian. Here, look, can I get your info? You're like, dude, I've got a million things going on in my head. It's sort of like when I go on the road and I'm at this club and all of a sudden, hey, can you give me some advice? Dude, I'm about to go on. I can't have this conversation right now. I'd love to have this conversation, but now is not the time. And I'm sure you get that on a daily basis, just in your emails, your Facebook, Instagram, because you make yourself accessible. And then when you have those shows, I'm sure everybody comes out because they're like, I'm going to talk to him right here and let him know who I am. And that's the worst time to tell anybody anything because you're not 100% focused.
I agree, but not a lot of people understand that though. For whatever reason, they think that that's their moment, that's their shot, and they have to take it, right? But that's why I say, like, I can tell you knew from either being behind the scene, like I could tell you knew who we were, but you still didn't like, hey, like I'm also a comedian. Hey, like I'm Erik. Like you saw us, you made contact, that was it. You kept it moving. And my theory that's how I remember though. But that's how I remember you though.
This is the theory I always have at events like that. Be the hot girl. don't be hungry. Hey, hi, you got to You sit there and they know who you are, or they'll see you and go, wait, who's that over there? It's not bothering me.
Yeah.
And as soon as if it's meant to be, it'll happen.
I agree. Eventually, right? Like I think we filmed another. Like I think you were part of the second season, which we evolved it into an hour because we felt like 30 minutes was just too cramped up. Like No.
Second season was the Tonio skit season with Ida and all them. I was third season.
No.
Is that
no, you were second season because so the first season has 4 parts.
I don't know how the season works.
I'm gonna tell you how.
All right.
So the first season has 4 parts. There's 4 episodes. So part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4.
Okay.
At that time, we were still discovering what it can be and what it is. Mm-hmm. So HBO, instead of giving them titles, they just said part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4.
Right.
You came in at the second season where it was, I think the last show Orlando and Ida were 3. So Francisco and Jerry were 4. Yeah. So at the end of that, so you came in at a time where we had thought about evolving the show into a 1 hour showcasing 4 comedians. And your show, I believe, had a title which was Spot On, right?
Spot On, yeah, that was our thing.
So now we were being more hands-on, like evolving it and like sculpting it into what it is now, right? Once we saw that, and that's part of the second season, because second season is Spot On, and I believe the first one out of the second season was called The Series, which was Nick, Gina,
Jesus Sepulveda,
and I believe was Ramon in yours or Ramon?
No, Ramon was that one.
Yeah, Ramon was that one. Yeah, you're right. So that was Ramon. Then you weren't Spot On. So by the time it evolved to that, you were the last episode. You were on the last episode of season 2, and then it evolved into the half-hour specials and things like that. But anyways, going back to the first 2 pilots, we executed. The coolest thing was and the biggest challenge was that on Christmas Eve we're getting a deal memo from HBO for the pilots,
right?
But it has a delivery date of March.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I'm like, do we tell them that this is impossible? Do we say no to them, or do we just go because this is what we wanted? And now it's time to just, execute. Like if they want it in March, let's figure out a way to do it in March. And that's why that show, in particular, it was a little bit chaotic. You put it all together, all like in a month and a half. And then by the following month, I was delivering 2 shows. Right around the middle of March, I was delivering 2 shows. I legit got sick for like a week after filming it. My body just shut down. I think the day of filming, I was up for like 32 hours just because it was everything to me. I was like, this is a game changer for me. Like it can't fail. And then I couldn't say no.
Right.
Because this is what I've been begging for. So I just said, whatever, like, let's just do it. Let's execute it. It was a little chaotic backstage.
Because I saw this one pop up on the chat, and I know it's a personal question, like, in which country would you like to perform? So let me turn it to you. Would you ever? I would love to go overseas, like England or Australia. Would you ever do an Entre Nos taping?
100%
overseas.
I just had a conversation last week about not a tour, but they were talking about our audience.
Right.
And I said, "Oh, you guys didn't know that we had Latinos in the UK? You guys didn't know we had Latinos in New Zealand?" I'm like, "Let me show you." And so it's
Fluffy's gone over there and he's killed it. I know Angela is going over there.
Those are the
thing, Entre Nos International, where you're shooting in one of these countries.
Yeah, English and Spanish speaking, because I showed when Gabriel did it. And then I also show when, I don't know if you're familiar with this comedian. I'm sure you are, Francisco, because we talk about Franco Escamilla. Guy, he's Spanish-speaking comedian, and the dude's been to Japan, all Spanish comedy.
And I'm going to give them a plug, Mr. Iglesias, the next season coming up. He's on it.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I think he's great friends with Gabriel. They're good friends with Gabriel. They share opening acts once in a while. Like, if he's in town, I think Gabriel pops in and does like a little Spanish set. And then if Franco's in town, he pops into Gabriel's and does an English set. Okay. So like there's a cool little friendship there. But yeah, I mean, they're big. Like that dude Franco, if you don't know, it's funny to me going into like big meetings and I say Franco Escamilla and they're like, never heard of him. I was like, do me a favor. Google here.
How many meetings I threw out Sofia Del Nino Rivera's name? Like, she's a star.
Yeah.
And then they Google her. They go, oh, because they don't know. All right. So, I don't want to veer too far away from Entre Nos. So you've named some dope comics: Ramon Rivas, Gina Brion, Francisco Ramos. You have Vladimir Kamai on the first one. Frankie Quinones, Nick Guerra,
Orlando.
you're looking for when you're putting these shows together? Because I know comics hit you up all the time, and they probably get frustrated because they're like, I don't understand why Edwin's not messing with me. So there's got to be something you're looking for to sort of help them, so that they can get on the right track of what you know what I'm saying?
With the combination of a couple things, and they probably don't know they're on this list
Right.
that we have, and we just haven't gotten to their name yet.
Right.
But the reality is, I had this list. I'm executing the list. In addition to that, I bump into like comedians like you and a couple other comedians, like Gina. Gina reached out to me and like, yo, I want to be a part of this movement that you're creating.
Right.
And a couple other, like, those things are like cool to me. Like when it comes from somebody else, I think it's not only cool, it just seems that we're making some noise, right?
Right.
So the thing that I am looking for when it comes to that, and it's not just me, it's a process with HBO and my partner, but we want to make sure that the comedian is traveling. And when we say that, is he's not just a local comedian.
Right.
We want to be able to make sure that when he gets on the platform, it's to help him or her elevate that brand and get a little bit more recognition than they already have. So I want them to use the platform.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because the platform is not going to make them. Their talent is going to make them.
Right.
But if they're already making all these moves, they're already traveling, getting out of their local area, then I just come in there and I, just help with the support and trying to expose them a little broader. That's pretty much it. And aside from that, activity. Yeah, like I just want them to be active out there. Believe it or not, we are looking, man. Everybody's looking, from the brands. They're all looking at your social presence. And I hate saying that so much, but it's the truth. It's the truth. They wanna see that you have a social presence, and it's not just you're selling tickets on, at a comedy club for whatever reason,
Also,
we know what the reason is.
And I'm not trying to give you a scapegoat here, because I know comics will hit me up frustrated, like, oh, Edwin don't mess with me, this, that, and the other. Going back to the point of you trying to execute, number one, the comedian's vision, and number two, put us in the best place to succeed. You said something one time to me, and I don't know if you meant to say it or meant for me to hear it. We were talking about like certain locations that you wanted to shoot Entre Nos again.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And I was like, oh, you ever gonna do? I forget who the comic was, and you said, they're on my list, but I don't know how they're gonna play in that market. So I'd rather wait to bring them here because I know.
Oh, that's true.
The market here. So it was one of those things where, like comics just think like, oh, he's not messing with me, but at the same time, you have this list, but you're also trying to put them in the best place to succeed, so they don't look bad. Because that's your biggest thing. Right. Like, you want to succeed, but you want the comic to do well, so that HBO goes, oh, I like that dude. I would like to develop something else. Or
100%. But yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. But yeah, that is a key. Another key component is when I do have people on that list, and I have, trust me, they may not think when they reach out to me. Sometimes I show them a list, and I'm like, look, your name's here. I just haven't. I don't have the show yet for me to book you in there. And in addition to that, is like the pairing too, right? Like I played with the pairing and all of that stuff.
You're technically putting together a line. Like I started doing that with Brownish.
Pretty much, yeah.
You need a lineup, and you need it all to be balanced.
Pretty much, yeah. And we don't want everybody doing almost the same thing, right? So I'm careful with all of that stuff. So, and at the end of the day, like I just want to make sure that you have the right exposure. Once that happens, then you look good, I look good, the show continues, and it allows me to continue making more episodes.
Right.
So, but let me throw it back to you a little bit. From the Entre Nos shows, and I know, so I saw you when we did the pilot, and then I worked really closely with Orlando when he did his half hour. Like, we just kind of hung out together for a whole year till all the way to that we gave birth to that.
Right.
And in that time space, like he got to know what I was trying to create and execute. So he vouched hardcore for you. He said, like, if that's what you want to do, this list that you have right now, like, put it on pause right now. Go after this person, this person, this person. And I was like, oh shit, okay, cool, all right. And then that was it. So then I reached out to you. I think I reached out to you on your IG because I was already following you. And then I said, hey, let me get your number and I need to talk to you. So the second time I talked to you was during your photo shoot. And I think that we had a cool little convo about, hey, this is what the show is. This is what the show's not.
Right.
And I'm basically putting you on here because I like what you do already. Don't change it. Don't try to, like, go after. Don't think the show is something else. Like, I just want you to be who you are, and I want to capture that. Right.
Right.
Maybe I want to say maybe you know this a little bit better. I want to say that maybe 4 months passed by after you filming that episode that I call you back again and say, like, hey, you got a half hour?
Right.
Because we want to offer you a half hour. And you're like, what? Like, we haven't even aired. We filmed your half hour and your episode still hadn't aired. Yeah. That's how crazy it was. I think it aired. We filmed your half hour in April, and your episode aired in June. So yeah, we were filming your half hour before even. But that's how much. A, we liked what you did. B, I saw the vision that you had, and I think we've had conversations behind the scenes that helped me make that decision, that allowed me to feel secure about that decision. Like, okay, cool. He has a vision. Let's go support that vision and let's go expose him. What's your reaction seeing? Oh, how do you feel about how that took place, right? And then I would like to know, because I know because we talk, but I don't think a lot of comedians know, or a lot of people know, how you utilize those moments,
right,
to help you get into some bigger moments or execute other things on your list that you wanted to do, whether it was touring, whether it's selling a show, whether it's getting in front of more people.
Big question.
That's a lot. I know it is. It is a big question. It is a big question. You don't have to answer it like you have to give me a 30-minute. You don't have to give me a 30-minute answer, but I do feel like people need to hear, because I always look at you and I always point at you and saying, like, look how he used the show.
Right.
That's what it's intended to do.
So when you hit me up to talk about the first Entre Nos, and a lot of comics, on Instagram and social, we look like we are killing it.
Yeah.
Because social media is just the hits. I'm going to show you just the hits. I'm not going to show you the down moments or anything. I think I was at a point in my career where I just felt like my wheels were spinning and there was no forward traction. I get the call from you and I was excited. I was like, all right, there's an opportunity. And the cool thing about you guys were, you never put pressure on us to, this is what you got to do. It's exactly what you're saying. What's your vision? Just execute your vision, and we're gonna film it, and we're gonna help you package it, and we're gonna help you get to what you want it to be. Cool. So, and this sounds crazy, and I've told you this before. The night of, I still didn't know what the set was.
That scares me.
It's scary, but and I hope comedians are watching this and they take something away from it. So every comedian goes and they work on their material. And you got material that kills. Everyone does. You go on the road, you know how to kill, you know how to do certain things. And at that point, before tape night, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this set right here, which, by the way, that set turned out to be the half hour super white. But we'll get there. A friend of mine calls me and she works in TV. She works in production. She's one of the people that like over at ABC, and she's like, hey, congrats on the thing. What are you doing? Like, what's your, do you know what your set is going to be? I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to do stuff about being married and this, that, and the other. And at that time I was working on other stuff about my father who had just passed. So I tell her the set. I was like, I'm gonna do the stuff about Katie and our the cross-cultural differences, this, that, and the other. And she goes, can I be honest with you? And I said, sure. She goes, and it's gonna sound mean, but I want you to understand what I'm telling you right now. We've seen that. We know it's funny.
Yeah.
She's like, if I were you, if I could guide you right now, I would do the stuff about your father. I know it's scary, but that's a story that hasn't been heard yet. That's a story you're going to tell, and that's going to carry more weight on this show.
I think, and let me stop you right there. I think when I started, so first of all, I had a lot of confidence in you because I saw some of the things that you were already doing and promoting. But in addition to that, like Orlando, and I don't know how Orlando knows, he like when I would ask him, what about this? What about that? He would break down. I don't know how he knows about you, but he just broke things down about you, right? So I was like, all right, cool. He's a pro. Cool. I don't need to babysit him and all of that. So I don't know if you remember, like we didn't, aside from the photo shoot, we didn't talk much.
No,
yeah. And then the only thing, but I knew it was gonna make you the headliner, like the last guy to close out the show. I just didn't tell you. And then you were out, you were backstage pacing.
I kept asking about the lineup. I was like, yo, what's the lineup?
Yeah, because I didn't want to just tell you like, yo, you're closing out the show. And I think I did tell you, you're pacing back there, your burgundy jacket. I think Rojo was on stage. And then I just said, hey, man, like I like everything that you do. I put you on last because I need you to close the show and just shut the. I was like, just shut it all down. I was like, just kill it, leave it all on stage. And you're like, Edwin, that's what I do. And that was it. You just said, Edwin, that's what I do. And I was like, all right, dope. And I was like, that's cool. And then I just walked off and I went back to the video village. But I think that's the only
hot moments. Be the hot girl.
Yeah. So you were like, you didn't even say, all right, thank you, nothing. You just said, Edwin, that's what I do. So, anyways, we didn't talk after that much. And then when we were editing your show, that was my favorite moment when you started talking about your father, right? And I text you and I said, yo, I don't know how you did this. But I was like, you're making me smile and laugh at these things without me feeling guilty.
Right.
And I thought that was a talent. I was like, that's a talent. Like I know there's something wrong with me laughing maybe about this, but you're doing it in a way where I don't feel guilty that you're talking about your father going through this hard time. You know? And that's when I was like legitimately 100% sold. I was like, nah, like that's talent right there. Like that's what I've been looking for. It's not just the jokey jokes, it's just like knows how to talk to people and get people pulled into whatever he's saying, right? So I think a little bit after that is when we started talking a little bit more and more and more. But that moment, I think I'm glad that person called you and I told you that. Favorite moment, and favorite moment to date,
Yeah, no, look,
well done.
Everyone's got the jokes, man. We all got the arsenal, but at the same time, you got to be able to tell the story that's not being told. And that's what she told me. And I'll tell you that night, even though I told you that's what I do, Edwin, I still didn't know what I was going to do until I hit that stage.
Well, that's why I asked you what I asked you, because I feel like sometimes you look so polished and you look like you making every calculated move. And sometimes you are, but sometimes you're just putting yourself out there and it just happened to work. You put yourself out there, you expose yourself, and then you just keep moving, you know. And
Well,
I don't think
for me also, it was a calculated move. It was all right. I'm gonna tell the story because I know I'll finally have tape on this story that people are interested in. Not only that, but I'll have tape with the fancy little HBO letters right there.
yeah.
More weight.
Yeah.
I go try to sell something,
Yeah.
or you know. So I realized what the opportunity was, and I tried to use it to my advantage. Like I think a lot of times we do things as comedians spur of the moment, or we don't think long term. We don't think 5 steps ahead. You know, a lot of the comics jump into, like I just recently got an email like, hey, you know, we're doing this company and you do content. And when you read the email, you go, oh, wait, I could do this on my own.
Yeah.
We get so excited that somebody wants us, we just throw whatever at them and realize we've lost that content to a company that's, you know, not going to do anything with it. But now I'm looking at, oh, it's HBO. I get to tell this story. I've got the tape. So when I send it off to execs, networks, or cable companies, they're going to pay attention because it's, oh, wait, this is HBO. All right, let's watch this real quick. So I'm thinking 5 steps ahead, just like you were when you did, oh, I'm going to do this for Redbox. You know, I don't know, 5 steps ahead of like how to get on Netflix, HBO, but you use those moments, you know?
Yeah, I did it with you. Because I knew I couldn't give you a half hour without being on the show first.
Right.
So I had to get you on the show first. And that's why when you said, bro, my episode has an error, and I said that this was the plan.
By the way, that's the first time the armor. That was the first. I was like, yo, you sure? Like,
I remember that.
Like, wait, hold on, huh? Hello?
Yeah. And then I remember telling you, no, that was the plan. Like the plan was to move you here, but I couldn't move you here till I showed the executives what you do, you know? So it was like, I just needed to put you on tape. And now, you know, now we're doing what we need to do. So it was a cool, and it was calculated. It did with O2. O was a 6-minute set that led to a half hour because they were like, don't edit him. And I was like, well, give me my first half hour then. And I was like, he'll be the first half hour. They were like, let me think about it. And then I just kept, you know, like spinning that. And then finally they said, all right, cool. And then, you know, when I had to talk with them. So yes, you're right. They are calculated moves, but sometimes it's about just putting yourself out there though, and keeping yourself busy and making all the right connections and making sure that your exposure. But I like the fact that you capitalize on those moments, though.
Yeah, you have to. Like, there's a lot of moments when you do comedy where you just feel like your wheels are spinning. Like right now is a perfect example. Like with everything going on in the lockdown, like you said, like it felt like in the first week I launched 3 shows.
Yeah.
Again, I could go back to woe was me and just sit here and trust me, I know comics who are not feeling themselves because they're home just stagnant. Or you could try to do this and capitalize and like I said in the beginning, instead of asking how you holding up, how are you adapting and how are you changing yourself?
Yeah.
So this is what it is now.
So
like, this by the way, this whole social media thing for me is fairly new. About a year and a half ago, I've told you this story, and I don't know if I've shared it with everybody.
No, but this is the point.
I sat down. Okay, this is before you hit me up for Entre Nos, and this is why I'm telling you my wheels are spinning. I talked to my management company. I pitched them the show. That they looked at me like I was crazy, which is the anime show we just sold with me, Peter Marietta.
Congrats, by the way.
Isaac Gonzalez. I'm telling them, look, guys, I have this idea. This is what the idea is. And as my representation, they're looking at me like, we don't understand what this is at all. You know, and as artists, you have to know, you have to go with your gut. You have to know that what you're doing is your passion. And I truly believe in this project. So I parted ways with them. They did some shady stuff. I lost all my reps. I'm sitting down with managers, and this one manager in particular, we're sitting there, we're having a good conversation. All of a sudden she goes, hey, what's your following on Instagram? And again, I didn't do social media. I had about 2,000 followers, and I was proud of those 2,000 followers. I was like, I got 2,100 whatever followers. She looked me dead in my eyes, and it was like she snatched the life right out of me. She was like, you should have said 0. And And I was like, wait, what?
Wow.
Because 2,000 moves nothing. Doesn't move the needle, doesn't get anyone excited. If you don't have 10,000 or more, you're not doing it. So why even have it? Dude, I left that meeting furious. I'm talking about if I would have seen that lady on the street, I probably would have hit her. I was so mad, dude. I think I called Mal. I think I called Katie. I was so angry. I was fuming. I was like, yo, do you believe she told me this? And they both, and back to comedians, like, surround yourself with good people. Like, I feel like you're part of my team. I got Katie. I've got my buddy Mal Hall. Like, if you surround yourself with good people, they don't let you spiral out. They help you and sort of help corral that info that you just got. And like, I processed it like, yo, forget her. If I ever see her, I'm a fighter. And Mal was one of the first dudes who's like, well, dude, you know what you need to do is then focus on it. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, find out how to grow that following. Yeah. He goes, let's boom. And we started looking up stuff online and listen to podcasts. He goes, let's be consistent. Let's put out the content. Let's find a way to interact with our fans. And that's what I did for a year and a half. And now I've got up to 37,000 followers because I've truly focused on it and made it my mission to grow a following, grow with fans and give them this content. But again, I could have sat there and forget her and done nothing, or I could have, all right, I'm gonna figure this out.
No, but see, that's the thing though. And it happens in my world as well. Whether it's executing something you want within 2 or 3 months, which is probably the wrong thing to do, but if you're meeting that challenge, you just got to figure out. And I think even though as much as you hate it hearing that, I think she gave you enough fuel for you to do what you're doing now. And look how active you are now. I think when we first started talking, you were probably at 16, maybe 17. And that was a good number. Don't get me wrong, but now what? You're what? 30 something? Yeah. That's big.
And growing. Because
by the way, I live just small little plug. I'm close to 9K on TikTok. So, but anyway, I think that it's a lot of. I think people, comedians or creative guys, they don't really want to pay that much attention to social media, but I can tell you that the brands, whether it's HBO, whether it's Netflix, they're looking at those numbers, man.
They have to.
They don't want to be the only ones selling you. They want you to also promote that your stuff is on their network. It's on their streaming site.
Right.
It's not just a one-way street, So,
yeah. Not to mention, like, I know people, comics or whoever, get upset like, I don't want to, I'm not a social media star, but sort of Netflix has changed the game. It used to be network television, basic cable, and those things made you a star. You would go rent videos at Blockbuster, and that's what life was. And then Netflix comes around, becomes a streaming thing, algorithm, the whole thing.
Yep.
So, not to get too deep into all of that, but what social media is as an artist, it gives you the power to dictate. Instead of just waiting around, like I'm blown away by guys who still go, I'm just, one day somebody's gonna call me and I'm gonna have this role and blah, blah. I'm like, dude, we have the power to reach these people, to create this content and to tell the stories we want to tell. And then, a guy like you comes around, hey, Entre Nos, or half hour, and that's just an opportunity to capitalize on it. And you're putting us on a platform, but we also have our own platform to help those two worlds come together.
Yep.
People got to stop looking at social media as, oh, I'm not a YouTube star or a Vine star. It's not about that. This is your platform. This is your channel. The one takeaway I got from sitting down with that lady and starting to work on this, and this is what I tell all comics, go to your social media and look at it. It is a channel of you. If you would not watch that channel, then why are you expecting other people to watch that channel? And it's not just about putting up videos and stuff. It's about the content. Like flyers, that's a commercial. If all your social media is flyers, would you watch a channel of just commercials? No. And this is why people are not tuning in. Yeah. So you need to focus on that content, because then guys like you are looking around like, oh, what's this dude about? And I'm sure you probably jump on a platform like, I'm not gonna sift through all of this to find the gold.
100%. You know, but it's challenging, but also I feel like if I was a comedian, if I was a creative guy, and I'm building my audience, I'm gonna monetize it. Like the smartest thing I've ever heard. It's the way Kevin Hart monetized his social media, like maybe started monetizing it 5-6 years ago, and telling the studios like, oh, you want me to also promote the movie to my 5 million followers? Well, you gotta pay me for that.
Right.
Like I'm not just gonna do it for free. Like that's that has value now. Like I've grown that audience. So it's one of those things. Like when I read the first time I read, I think I might have read an interview with him where he said that, or maybe saw it. But like a light bulb went on. Like, oh my god, like he's right. Like everybody can monetize their social media presence and not only promote themselves, but also have the studios pay them to promote their own projects, you know?
Or even on a small scale, if you look at a guy like Andrew Schultz, which is a name people should know, just on YouTube, Instagram, like he's a dude that networks said, no, we don't want nothing to do with you. All the big platforms, nobody wanted, and this dude didn't take no for an answer. He created his own content on YouTube, Instagram, and now he sells out on the road, theaters, and now he just shot his first special that's coming out soon. It's like, you know, don't look at this as a chore or like a punishment. Look at this as a platform to directly talk to your fans.
100%. I think what some people fail to realize that social media it's work. Like, you know, it's definitely work. You know it more than anybody. I post for fun. You post to grow an audience, and you talk to your audience. But I've seen that evolution with you from the last 3 years, 2 years, where you were testing things out, and now you still, you still do, but now you saw what works, and you continue that, and then we see other people doing something similar, and we just kind of like step back, like, oh, I guess that shit does work, you know, like everybody else is doing it now. So the cool thing about it is just seeing that evolution. And for me, man, I could just tell you this is why I wanted this one-on-one with you. And I know O was gonna hop in, but I definitely want people to understand. And I feel like you and O has been able to capitalize on your specials more than anybody else, no matter how much I try to say, okay, because I do want to say one thing is that the days of like in the 80s and 90s of when the network used to put your special and it made you, I feel like those days are they're a little bit more challenging. I won't say they're gone, but they're a lot more challenging now because there's more networks, there's more talent, there's more everything, more everything, right? So it's harder to fight for that audience, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it also takes you to make sure that people understand that your content is out there,
right?
And on a constant basis. I think we've released your half hour maybe a year ago, or was it last year? June last year, right?
No, last November.
Oh, last November.
It coincided with the comedy festival.
Yeah, but you're still plugging away.
Oh yeah,
like
people right now.
It hasn't stopped, and I feel like people just feel like their job is done, and that's the thing. One like I want to say thank you to you because it only and listening, you know more than anybody, like we call you and we tell you updates like, hey, it's working. Whatever you're doing, it's working because you know this is happening. You know, and you see it yourself too. The more you make noise, you see yourself in the carousel, and you understand that the system that if you're still in that carousel, that means people are watching it. They ain't moving you out of that carousel to you know it just fades away. So those are all cool little industry things that if they don't understand, like they should try to figure out or ask me or ask you, you know. But definitely here to try to figure how to, you know, gain that momentum a little bit more.
All right. Well,
So what's next for you? Wait, before you hang up, what's next for you?
What's next for me? Well, I'm working on the animated show with Peter and Isaac. We're working on that script. So it's that's that on top of all the social media, on top of doing homeschool with the little ones, doing the family thing. Like that's been keeping me busy. Still trying to plug away and come up with some network ideas because even though I know network has changed, I still believe we need representation on network television
100%.
for Middle America. So, and then just 100 other ideas that I'm trying to pitch and sell. So we'll see what happens.
You know me, man. I'm trying to give you that Run's House type of reality show for you.
You really want my mom on TV?
Yeah, 100%. I haven't figured out how your kids are gonna play into it yet, right. But your mom definitely like it's a deal breaker if your mom's not in the series, man. She has to be in it.
Before I let you go, what advice do you have for any comics out there trying to get on your radar that, not necessarily aren't on the list, but are trying to get themselves higher up on that list?
Just keep, I don't want to say keep making notes, that's the wrong word, but just keep momentum going. Don't allow the fact that you don't see what you don't, because behind the scenes, I think what some comedians don't realize is that we're trying to figure things out for them, and then until we do, at least me, until I do, then I'm knocking on the door, I'm calling, right? So I think the biggest advice that I could tell people is just to the only way to get on my radar is just for you to continue to keep that movement, and surround yourself. I think the biggest thing one of the biggest takeaway, surround yourself with good people, because you've recommended people that are on my radar. Orlando's recommended people on my radar. Everybody has figured out a way to like mention people and help me laugh. I just read that. And help me get notice of other people, or even if I didn't truly 100% think that they were ready, like you guys told me, oh no, they are. Like trust me, they are. They have the material. You just got to go look. You got to go see it. And then I do, and then I agree. So it's one of those things. Just surround yourself with good people. Keep the momentum going, and I think that's about it. But I can guarantee you, we're looking already. I tell people that we're looking already.
Well, how can people find? I know you're on TikTok. I know
I'm not on TikTok. Entre Nos is on TikTok. Let's get that correct. It's Entre Nos HBO on TikTok.
Entre Nos HBO on TikTok. What's the
help me get to 9K, people? Come on. And then it's Ed Lacona on Instagram, and it's Edwin Lacona on Facebook.
Reach out. You also have Entre Nos Instagram too.
Yeah, Entre Nos HBO on Instagram. Yes.
All right, people, you guys know where to find me at Erik Rivera Comedy, all things, and go watch the special. It's on HBO Go, HBO Now, soon to be on HBO Max.
Yeah. Keep supporting. Just know that we're trying to grow this brand for you guys. This isn't, just keep supporting it.
Yeah, support it. And like I tell you guys all the time, you guys at home, if you watch a clip, if you go to Entre Nos and you watch a clip and you like it, share it. It's easy. It's free. Just share it and pass it forward. Same thing with my clips. Pass them forward because we all need the laughter and all of this. Well, thanks so much for jumping on, dude, and pulling the curtain.
No, thank you. I know there's still a lot more we could talk about, but this was good. This was good. Thank you.
Man, stay safe out there.
You too.
Late.